Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Richard Brake. You may know me as Doomhead, Foxy from Three from Hell, or the Night King from Game of Thrones. So I'm hanging here with Galaxy on Comic-Con Radio.
I'm not crazy, I'm in control. 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 I'm not far. Gentlemen, take the rest of the night off. I'll handle it from here. Murder school? Oh, it's now in session.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing in for Comic-Con Radio. Comic-Con! Coverage of pop culture events from around the globe. Amazing interviews with celebrities. Daily recaps and reviews of popular television. Movie reviews. Everything Comic-Con and fandom from around the globe. Comic-Con Radio. Get ready to enter our universe. Let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy for another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Today, we have an amazing treat. This gentleman is going to rock your socks off. He is a legend in our universe. We have the wonderful Richard Brake. Richard, what's up? Welcome to Comic-Con Radio.
Thank you. Nice to be here. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Richard, it's so lovely to have you on the show. You are an iconic figure to me. I have watched you through the years. You've been in every hellish movie that I've loved and hold close to my heart.
Thank you. And may there be many more.
And may there be a million more and a million more and a million more.
Let's hope.
So, horror movies, what a genre. You are perfect for it. What was the mindset of you becoming glued to the horror universe? What is it about it that you love?
I think it loved me first. It came to me quite a while ago. I just started getting cast in some small indie horror films, and then obviously Rob Zombie picked me up for Halloween 2. And then since then, it's just kicked off. I mean, I loved horror films as a kid. I used to watch them all the time. In fact, when I was about 7, there used to be some, I think they were Hammer horror type movies, those old 50s, 60s horror films. They used to show them in the morning wherever I lived, and I used to watch them. My parents didn't know, and then I couldn't sleep at night for about a week, and they couldn't work out what was going on. So they finally figured out what it was. So they stopped me watching them. But I've loved them ever since I was a kid. So it's been a real treat to be able to star in so many horror films over the last few years.
And you said it right. The horror genre did come to you. It's like they rang your doorbell, you opened the door, and you said, enter my house, my humble abode.
Yeah.
And that's what's been happening. You're in so many iconic movies, TV shows. Now, when you were a kid, not so many years ago, just a few years ago, when you were a kid, did you ever think you would become this horror icon?
No. It's just been something that's kind of slowly developed over time. I don't know if I'd use the word icon, but it's been great to do so many, and I've been lucky too, because there have been some really wonderful films, and I've worked with some amazing directors. Most of all, Rob Zombie, 3 times. He's just a fantastic director, and I love working with him. And he's obviously helped a lot in terms of my profile because his films are so beloved by just a huge amount of horror fans. And then I've done a lot of little indie ones as well, which I've really enjoyed, small British or American horror films. So it's just been a great ride, and I'm enjoying it and looking forward to doing some more.
Well, Rob Zombie knows how to accentuate the horror that comes from Richard Brake. He knows how to take who you are and just take it to another level, and it's amazing. Yes, his movies and you mend so well together, but there's something in you that is just a perfect mix for what you do. And I say that because it's not just coming from me, it's coming from many of the fans out there in the fandom universe. And you've built multiple fandoms, not only for Halloween, working with Rob Zombie, but also in the DC universe, and then also the Game of Thrones, where you played the Night King, which has become iconic. That was amazing. How did it feel being part of such a huge production?
Yeah, I was very grateful. I'm very honored to be a part of that show. It was an amazing show. And the impact it's had on people all over the world. I mean, I've done Comic-Cons in Peru and Ecuador, and of course all over the U.S. and Europe. And I'm just stunned by how impactful that show has been in people's lives. Even from, back when I was in season 4, it really struck me how this show is kind of taken it. It's become like a modern day version of Greek theater. I think from what I understand, the Greeks it was part of their job as citizens to go to the theater. It wasn't a choice. They had to go because the Greeks knew how important theater was to keeping a society together. And I think Game of Thrones has kind of carried that mantle into the very modern age. We can stream it all over the world now and not do it in a coliseum in some town. I love that I got to be a part of it, and not only a part of it, to play pretty much the biggest badass in the whole show. So that was a lot of fun. It was just a real honor to do that. And obviously the result's been amazing. It's an incredible show.
The results are huge. It's right. Huge. And yes, You said it right. The biggest badass on the show. That's right. The Night King is the end-all, be-all of horror, terror. It's who they've been dreaming of at night, running away from and preparing for all those seasons. I think they killed him a little too easy in Game of Thrones, but, who am I to say that?
I loved it. I love the fact it was Arya. I think the way they developed her character was just genius. They took this girl who watches her father get murdered, and then over the course of 8 seasons becomes the greatest assassin in the world. Basically, saves the world. I thought that was a real genius piece of writing, and also that everybody kind of was expecting a big showdown with Jon Snow and a sword fight and all the rest of it, and then out of nowhere, this girl jumps down and does it quickly and seamlessly, and I thought that was real genius. I know I've heard people tell me they were disappointed, but to be honest with you, I thought it was just excellent. Really, hats off to the creators for that move.
Well, the way you say it, it does sound genius now. Now when I think of it, the way you just put it all together, a lot of people don't think of it like that. So there you go. That's exactly. Your theory is going to start.
Hopefully I changed a few minds.
You just changed hundreds of thousands of minds out there by saying that. So all these characters that you play, if you were to take any of them, Doomhead or Winslow or any of these characters that you play, which one do you think is the most ruthless?
Okay. Who would win in a fight? Somebody once asked me. Winslow Coltrane or Doomhead or the Night King. God. They all sort of fight differently. That's how I think of it. They're all pretty ruthless. You got Doomhead. He's very specific. Like he would have it all worked out beforehand. He would be 3 steps ahead of everybody else. Whereas Foxy from 3 from Hell, you got to watch him because he's a dirty little bugger. So he might, he's going to come and do something you're not expecting because that character very much works in the moment, lives in the moment. And then, of course, the Night King, well, I mean, he's just got so much power behind him. Who knows? So I just like to think all of my mixture of psychopaths and assorted misfits have their own unique way of dealing with a battle. I can't pick who would be the winner. It'd be too hard. It'd be like trying to pick who's my favorite. And I always say that's like picking which of my children I love the most. And there's no way you can do that. They all have a place in my heart.
Like you said, you wouldn't know who wins, but who is the most ruthless, do you think, in your eyes?
Yeah. I think they're all pretty damn ruthless. When they're all pushed against the wall, they're all pretty tough. So I honestly couldn't pick them. I'd have a hard time picking which one would be the most ruthless. I think they all got their unique little thing.
There you go. Comes from you directly. So with all these things that you played so far, all the experience you have, sometimes think back, wanting to be an actor. Was it something that you wanted to be as a child? Did it come later in life? What made you go into this world?
When I was a really little kid, I was always pretending to be somebody else. I was thinking about this recently. But I did a lot of interviews for Three from Hell, and people would ask me a similar question. And I really realized that even as a child, like I would always pretend to be someone else. But like most people, when they're kids, they'll go out in the garden and pretend to be Batman. And then when they come in to have their dinner, they'll be, themselves again. But with me, I would still come in and be Batman having dinner. I'd be Batman going to bed. I'd be Batman waking up in the morning. And then if my hero was, Lee Majors, $6 Million Man, there you go, I'll date myself. I would be him for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, as well as playing in the garden. So I was literally constantly taking on these identities. And I think that may be where it all really started. And then when I turned 18, I was around 17, 18. I was at my high school. I never thought about doing acting, really. And I was sitting outside, and with my best mate, this very attractive young woman came out and said, they need more guys to audition for the school play. Can you guys come in and do it? And I figured, if she's doing it, I'm going to go for it. So I followed her into the auditorium, auditioned, got a part because I don't think there was enough people to fill the roles, not because of my talent. And that when I started rehearsing that play, I realized that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I've been very, very lucky that that's been the case. And I'm considerably older than that 17-year-old boy, and I'm still lucky enough to get to travel around and pretend to be somebody else for a living.
Isn't that lovely sometimes? Just to be somebody else for a little while and live their life and be part of it, even though some of them are sadistic, evil. But sometimes it's good to see these things because it makes you appreciate life. I bet when you're on set and you're in one of these crazy, horrific scenes, do you ever say, wow, life is so great. Look at this. This is so terrible. Imagine if this was real.
No, I never feel like that. I think always, even with the most brutal films I've done, like there's so much crazy brutality in Rob's films. But I think behind it, there's honestly incredibly life-affirming messages, whether it's about family or, I always find that, the thing that I think about horror is, in terms of its genre, is there's a lot more to it than just scaring the hell out of people. We need these dark things in our life. We need to see it and experience it as catharsis. And there's all kinds of things I could sit here and go on about, but there's a reason why people are attracted to darkness. We need to experience it and see it. And that kind of harks back to the whole greed thing that I was going on about. So I never think of it as, oh, my life's so good because I'm not being, no one's raided my house and slaughtered me. That would be bizarre. I think more it's, I enjoy being a part of the story that, typically I'm the dark side of the story, but I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to do that and to bring that to people, and be a part of some, whether it's Rob or whether it's, Kevin Chicken, who made a really lovely movie I did called Perfect Skin, which is about a guy that kidnaps a woman and tattoos her entire body. And, as crazy as that sounds, it's actually a fairly moving movie. To have opportunity to do that is really, really special. And, I enjoy it. But going back, the whole I feel that it's a catharsis for me in a way. I get to play all these bad people. I did a movie called Hannibal Rising about 14 or 15 years ago. And at the time, I had two boys, and they were about 4 and 6, something like that, years old. And I was going to work and eating a child, because in that movie, my character eats Hannibal Rising's sister, or a bunch of us do, because we're starving and it's a war. And that's why he becomes Hannibal Lecter. And then I would go home. I would be eating a child at work and then coming home and reading my children's stories for bed. So that was my bizarre day. But I thought, probably keeps me sane. I go off and pretend to be really evil and get to be halfway decent dad when I get home.
Wow. You have to learn how to switch the two off from each other, or
Yeah,
else it gets kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think otherwise you'd end up in a mental institution. That's for sure. Yeah.
And how do you do that, Richard? Like, how do you switch it off? I know you're an artist, and this is your art form. I've chatted with actors and artists, and they couldn't switch it off, or it's hard. It comes into their home. Yeah, they're not playing like the roles that you are, because if you bring that home, it's going to be like The Shining. But how do you do that? How do you switch that off? Is it easy? Is it hard? What's the process?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been doing it so long. I mean, in the end, it's just make believe. It's just pretend. So I don't really think about it. I just come home and obviously get on. There's always so much stuff going on to deal with at home. Those boys are now teenagers. I think one's 20, and then I've got another little one. So it's there's plenty to keep me occupied. Not to be thinking about my character, but more like thinking about whatever little crisis one of them has going on. The other thing is that there's little bits of the characters that always stick around. My girlfriend used to tease me quite a bit recently because Foxy from Three from Hell would sometimes appear in the middle of the afternoon. But I would just suddenly say something that was very Foxy-like, or start acting in a Foxy manner. She'd go, put Foxy away. So the characters they can still be there. They can still pop up sometimes, but they don't get up to anything too seriously bad. So there you go.
That's funny. That's funny. She said, "Put Foxy away."
She does. She said, "Come on, just put Foxy away." I'm sorry.
Have you ever been in a situation where you have channeled any of these characters and you used it to get out of a predicament?
Probably. There's probably been a few times that that I've had to win an argument, or whatever it was, when I might have slipped into a bit of doomhead or something. But I think I'm probably guilty of that. If I've been standing in a line too long, or trying to get something that I think I need, but I usually feel guilty afterwards when I've had to slip into doomhead to scare somebody. I used to say I tried to get my children to do their homework. I'd slip into one of my characters, but that never worked. It never worked at all. They just go, "Dad, stop acting." There you go.
You are in many iconic horror movies, but equal to that, you've starred in TV series and movies like Batman and Merlin and many other characters as well. That's the horror genre that everybody loves you in. So between the two, if you had a choice, which one would you kind of lean towards most? More into horror or into more general acting?
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to choose one or the other, because I think one of the things that I've been very lucky to have happen over the last years is to have a real mixture of work. I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed into always being in just horror films. I've been lucky. I've been doing it for 30 years now, I think. And, I've many different genres that I've been in and different type of films. I mean, I love the fact that I do loads of different things, but I would not want to do the films that I do in horror, because I love those films, and I love particularly working with the people in those, because I think some of the most creative people I've worked with have been in the horror genre. But I've also worked with some incredible people in other genres. I did a movie that's coming out in January called The Rhythm Section with Blake Lively, and it's produced by the James Bond people. Barbara Broccoli produced it. Amazing producer, amazing woman. Reed Moreno, who did Handmaid's Tale, was a director, and she's an incredible director. And so working with them was a wonderful experience. And obviously doing Batman Begins and working with Christopher Nolan, and I was in Peaky Blinders with which is an incredible show with Cillian Murphy. I've worked with him a few times. So what I've loved about my career, for want of a better word, is that it's so diversified. One of the things, I went to studied drama. So I went to drama school here in London with an actor who's a very, very close friend of mine named Eddie Marsan, who was in Deadpool. You know, your fans might know him from, he played Deadpool 2. He was the headmaster, I think, of a school, the principal of the school. But he's been in a load of things, in Ray Donovan, and he's incredibly great actor and a very close friend of mine. And early on in our careers, we both, you know, talked about the importance of being very, very versatile as an actor, especially as a character actor. You know, the more versatile you are, the more different genres you can do, the more different characters you play, the accents you can, you know, master, the better you are, and the more you work, and the more interesting people you work with, and that's really what I've aspired to do for the last 30 years, and I've been very, very lucky to have that materialize.
That's so good hearing it from you, because people that don't know you, they think you're just all about horror. But we know, true fans know that you've been in many different situations. And I really see you in a lot of timepieces. I think you would do that really well. I see you in a lot of modern movies. You can, like you said, a character actor. You're very versatile. I know the horror movies have, you know, sometimes they can kind of not mark you, but they can mark you into a certain direction, and it has a lot of fans, and it becomes like this big icon thing to the certain community, and then you get labeled as, okay, this gentleman's like, you know, a horror master or this or that, but you're so versatile, and that's why I asked that, because I wanted to know which one you like the most or love the most, and you said it, you like both, and you like to be in both.
Yeah.
Is there any of these mixed type of stuff coming in the future? Are you going after more non-horror stuff, or whatever you think comes in your way that's awesome you'll take?
Yeah, exactly. I basically do, you know, whatever comes next that I like, and like you mentioned, that I played Merlin. That was in a film that's not out yet. I shot that in October. You know, as a director, I worked with before, actually, in a horror film called The Bear, which I think is out in January. You know, and that was a very, very kind of brutal horror film. And then his next movie was a King Arthur movie that he just directed this year. And he called me up and asked me to come and be in it and play you know, Merlin, who's you know, who's a good guy. And, you know, it was real fun to shoot that, and it was for me, it's a British accent, and it was shot in Wales, which is where I'm from originally. So, you know, that was really wonderful, and that came along. And then I went off and did Tremors, the next Tremors franchise film, shot that in Thailand. I only just got back from that, you know, last week. Which was great fun, you know, but that's a bit more of a genre film. You know, I guess it's horror, you know, sort of comedy horror. I had a wonderful character I played, and some great people on that, and you know, and I've also worked on a show called Brave New World, which is coming out on the USA cable channel next year with Alden Ehrenreich. I was pronounced his name probably incorrectly, but he was Solo in the Han Solo movie.
Yes.
Really, really, really wonderful actor. And Demi Moore as well. Worked with her in that TV series. And, yeah, I shot that again in Wales, funny enough. Shot that, you know, this year. In fact, flew back from Thailand and did some more work on that last week. So, you know, in that character, and that's obviously totally different genre again. So I'm very lucky that all kinds of different projects come my way, and you know, and I like, and I'm interested in who I'm working with, and also what the project itself is, rather than whether it's one genre or another. It doesn't matter to me. You know, I love all of it. I just love acting, so you know, whatever you throw at me, I'm going for it.
That's it. Wow, that's great. And 2019 has been extremely busy for you. The Sanctuary, Dare, 3 from Hell, of course, Robozuna, which is an animated series, Creeped Out, which is an amazing series if people get to watch it. It's on Netflix.
And also, it's really cool. It's like a kid's version of Black Mirror, I guess is the best way of describing that. That was a lot of fun. Again, that was the older kids TV series. Rob Butler I think is the main writer and person and creative of that. And I got asked to do that. I shot that actually at the end of last year, but he was a big Rob Zombie fan, and it was fun to come in. I think I only filmed for a day, but it was, one episode of the show, and it was a lot of fun to do it. I think the only note the director gave me was to be a little less scary, because I think I just come off of doing Rob's film, so I might have been just a little too scary at first. So I toned it down a bit, but it was a lot of fun to be in.
Did you freak any of the kids out?
In a different thing. Exactly. I don't want to scare them too much, but it was very cool to them to ask me to be involved, and I haven't actually seen it yet. I have to watch it, but I know that it's been getting great reaction from audiences, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, we've seen it. You play the hidden. It's
cool.
Episode 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty great. So you toned yourself down for that. Those kids must have been like,
to be a little less scary.
So with all this said, if you had a choice between these two brands, which one would you run for, DC or Marvel?
I'm a DC guy. I mean, not to take anything. I like Spider-Man, I have to admit. I always liked Spider-Man as a kid. I think there's such great complexity. But I think for some reason it's the darkness in DC. Even as a kid, I was a DC guy more. So, and obviously I've been involved in both universes, more so in DC, having played Joe Chill, the man who basically made Batman, as I like to say. Which is for me a real highlight of my life, really, because I loved Batman as a kid. I always wanted to be Batman, but I'm more than happy that I got to be Joe Chill, and I was in. I've never seen me in it, but I am in there somewhere, supposedly in Thor, the second one. It was I think it was definitely chopped down considerably, but it was great to work on that. And I had known Tom Hiddleston before. I had met him before, and he's a lovely guy, and it was good to see him again. And I love both. But if given a choice, and you love choices, you love asking choices, I'll make a commitment on this question, and I'll say I'm more of a DC guy.
You said, I love the dark side of Batman.
Yeah.
Batman is a dark character. We're doing a huge piece on Batman, and we're doing a piece on the dark side of Batman. And if you had an opportunity to be in a Batman movie, but not a Joe Chill type of character, more of like the superhero character, would you go for that?
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see what it would be, but definitely. I think having been in the franchise is probably unlikely to happen, but it's, in a character that's obviously fairly important. So I would never hesitate to be involved in any Batman thing, because if I had to choose my favorite comic book character, for me it was Batman as a kid. I mean, I loved him, and I still do. Particularly what Christopher Nolan did with his films, just crucial to, I think, all superhero films, or we want to call them. He's really just changed the game for everything. And, I think, his films are incredible, the films he did, and the way he just made it so much more real and dark in the cases of his films, and was so important to all superhero films since today. He's a great filmmaker, and I love those films that he did.
Oh yeah,
particularly the second one. People say, "What's your favorite of the three?" But my favorite was actually The Dark Knight. I thought Heath Ledger was just phenomenal in that film, and I loved it. But I was in the first one, but which is a great film too. But that second one is just magnificent.
It's lovely. Now your kids, you said they've grown up. They're older now. They understand movies. They can tell the difference between acting and reality and all that. Is any of your movies their favorite?
Henry, my 17-year-old, said the other day he went to see Three from Hell at a small premiere in London. And unfortunately, I was filming in Wales, actually. So I couldn't go, but I got some tickets for Henry and his buddies, and they went. And Henry came out and said, "That's your best film." So Henry would definitely say it was Rob's last film, Three from Hell. And I have to admit, I'm incredibly proud of that film. I think, and Rob agrees, that it's his best film by far, and it's just a real masterpiece. in filmmaking, genre filmmaking, any kind of filmmaking. It really transcends a horror film into it's like a Sam Peckinpah getaway. It's so many films rolled into one, and I'm really proud of the work that we've all did on that film, and I'm very proud of my own work in it. So it was really nice to have Henry come out, and he can be a tough critic. You know, kids say it as it is, especially your own kids. And he came out and he was like, "Yeah, that's your best film." So I would say that definitely that one. And I don't know, my older one, I have to ask him. He's studying now to be a filmmaker, and when I see him next, I'll ask him what he thinks. But he definitely liked 31. He hasn't seen 3 from Hell yet. We're going to watch it over Christmas, so I'll see what he says. They all thought I was very cool when I was in Batman because they were all like what we call primary school here. It was like 6th grade or 5th grade, and obviously made it a lot cooler in the playground because her dad was in Batman.
That's it. I'm cool. So your son's going to be a filmmaker.
Dad's cool.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I got one musician and one filmmaker. Yeah, so we shall see. 17-year-old is a really good musician, and the older one is a good filmmaker. So, unfortunately, none of my kids are going on to being lawyers and support me in my old age. They're all going to go and be artists. I've got a little one, so maybe he'll become an accountant. Or,
to count everything you guys make and keep everything under control. Exactly. He'll get a sensible job. There was a guest on recently, and he was like, when he was going to college, his parents asked him, "What are you studying?" He's like, "Well, I'm studying to be an actor, to make film." And his dad said, "Oh, you're studying to be broke?" I just thought of that right now when you said that. So being a filmmaker, that's amazing. And having you as a dad to help him and be there, and wow, that's really cool. That's a good path.
Yeah, I've always said to my kids, even to the tiny one who's still very little, that you just got to do what you love, and then try not to think too much about making money and all the rest of it. And if you do what you love, then money will come. It'll all work itself out. But you just got to commit yourself 100% to it. That's the main thing. You got to create. Don't stop creating. I think that's the key to success. Don't be afraid and go for it. So we shall see. Some are definitely doing their best right now.
Well, that advice you're giving your kids, I think it's going to reach people's ears, and your advice is very meaningful. What advice would you give someone breaking through into acting? What would you give them?
I would say, people do ask me this. I often get Instagram messages from people, and unfortunately I can't answer them all because otherwise my girlfriend would kill me because I would be doing nothing but sitting on my phone. But they do ask me this, and I say one of the things is people never expect this answer, but I do say consider doing some kind of meditation. People are like, "What?" And I go, well, because I think it's very important as an actor to, for 2 reasons. One is to really understand how to be still, just emotionally and mentally still, because from that place is where you create. So I think it's very important to, find some kind of meditation, whether it's 5 minutes a day. There's plenty of online stuff now and all kinds of ways of learning it. You don't have to go off and get a guru and do that. But and also it helps a lot because it's a tough little journey being an actor or being an artist, period. There's a lot of ups and downs. Even when you're my age, there's lots of ups and downs. And it helps with those to have a kind of meditation practice and really just have a little stillness in the morning and the afternoon if you can do it. So I really do recommend that to any young actor to really think about that. And the other thing is be fearless. Really look at your own thinking and see the little thoughts in your head that tell you that you can't do it, because we all have those. They're just little demons, little fake little voices inside our head that say, "Oh, we can't do it." Because for me, a big breakthrough came a long time ago now, but when I realized that even though I'd always been saying, "Oh, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to make a living," and all the rest of it, I had a little voice in my head going, "Not really, it's not really going to happen." And I saw that little voice, and I knew that little voice was just a bunch of bullshit. And so I just kept a little eye on it. And every time I saw it, I tell it to go away. It really changed things for me, being aware of those. So it's important as a young artist to really see those. They're very destructive, those little voices. And the more we can be aware of them, the more chance we have of overcoming them and basically doing what we want. And the other thing is just keep doing it. If you're in a small town and there's only three of you that like acting, just get together and do scenes together and act all the time, or put plays on at your local, whatever you can, If there's a shop that'll let you use their space at night, put a play on there, or do what you've got to keep making art. Or if you're a filmmaker, make movies with your phone. If you're a writer, write every day. It's really important just to do it. Don't think about it. Just keep doing it. And it's, 90% of the time it's not going to be very good. That's okay. The number of plays I did, they were bad, and I was worse. I did tons of them as a young actor, and I did a lot of student movies that were awful, but that's how I learned. I just kept doing it, and it's really important to do that.
Well, it's going to get into everybody's ears, and they're going to love that. And that way, they don't have to bother you on Instagram as much, and they could just bother us.
There you go. That's the answer you would have gotten. if you text me on Instagram, you'll get the same answer, so there you go.
And that's it. I hope everyone takes it to the heart, and what you said is through your years of experience. What do you think if Rob Zombie directed a DC movie, like a Batman or some kind of movie from his point of view? What would you think about that?
Yeah, I think he can't do no wrong to me. Whatever he puts his mind to, it's going to be brilliant. It's more a question of would Rob want to do it? That's the thing I love about Rob. He's got so many creative things going at one time that, he's got his music, he's got some artwork he does, he's got his filmmaking, and just so many different projects, so many different things. It's like a creative sort of force that Rob will just hone in on, I think I'm going to do that next, or I'll do this next, So it's more a question of if Rob was totally into it, the project that he really wanted to do, then it would just be genius. That's the thing. Rob never really does anything just for the money. He doesn't need to, and he doesn't do it for any other reason other than just an absolute passion for the project. So whether it be a DC project or whatever, a new album or animated film one time, I know he did, and it's just whatever drives him passionately at that moment. So yes, if he did it, it'd be genius, but it'd only be genius because he would be committed to it 1,000%.
Wow, that's cool. Hey, that's what I wanted to hear from you. You said exactly what I wanted to hear. And it's lovely to come from your mouth. Because if I would have said, hey, fans, what do you think about Rob Zombie directing a DC movie? But coming from Richard Brake, it's a lot better. So a long time ago, you worked in a movie with Rachel Weisz. Do you remember that movie, Death Machine? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I loved it. It was my first movie.
Wow.
It was a great, great time. It was the first film I ever did. It was with Brad Dourif, who's a really, really great actor who I learned a lot from. If anything, it's just his kind of commitment and concentration and his professionalism. It was just a real honor to work with him as a young actor. And I loved making that film. It's a small indie film shot in London back when they weren't making small indie films. They were barely making any films over here in London at that time. Things had really slowed down, and we shot it in Pinewood. Do you know Pinewood is where they shoot the James Bond movie?
Oh yeah,
loads of things. And it's a really, really famous studio here in London. It was almost desolate. There was nothing shooting there. I think there was one other movie and us. That's how quiet the business was. So it was a real treat to make that film. And great director Stephen Norrington, who I think he went into FX stuff afterwards, but we had a great time shooting it. And Rachel Weisz, it was great. She has one line. Basically, she did it as a favor. She knew the producer, and they said, come in and do this. We do this. She wasn't famous at the time, but everybody knew. I remember sitting in the makeup room, and Rachel was in there, and the makeup artist quietly said to me, that girl over there, she's going to be famous one day. I guarantee it. But really, I don't know what she'd done before them, but hardly anything, if you look. Bits and bobs, but nothing. But I remember thinking she was incredibly a beautiful, beautiful looking woman. And obviously an incredible actor, because Academy Award winning, and she's just an extraordinary actor. And she, about a year or two later, she was in that Keanu Reeves movie. I remember watching it thinking, oh, that's the woman that was in the makeup room. That's Rachel. I was like, dawned on me. It was, I forget the name of the film. I think it was called Chain Reaction. Didn't do very well. but it was Keanu Reeves and her. That was her first, I think. I mean, I have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that was her first big role in a Hollywood film. And then, of course, the rest is history. But I remember her very, very clearly. I remember that day. I don't have the greatest of memories, millions of things that I've come across over the years.
What are you talking about? I was just going to tell you remember everything so well. I was just going to say that.
That's funny. Wow. Yeah, probably better than I think. You're right. Because my girlfriend laughs because I can go, that was in November of '92 that I saw that. Yeah. So I do have a weird habit of knowing those kind of things. But I really remember, and it was actually in October of '93.
There you go. Look at that.
But I do remember, I remember Rachel really well. She had an incredible presence, and obviously, she's, like I said, she's amazing. And it's quite funny that she had this one line.
Wow.
There you go.
There you go. You remember that. So with that, your first Comic-Con experience. When you walked into Comic-Con, you sat down and you had fans coming up to you. Do you remember that? How did that feel, or how was it?
Yeah,
how was that experience?
Actually, my first one was not. My first one was not successful. It was a couple of years ago now in Brighton, which is on the coast of England, and it was the first time that they had done a Comic-Con. This company had done this Comic-Con in Brighton, and it was not very busy. It wasn't a particularly successful Comic-Con, and I think at the time 31 hadn't come out, and also I think only season 4. I don't know if season 5 had even come out yet in Game of Thrones. So it was fun. I had a lovely weekend with my girlfriend. We both went down there and had fun at Brighton. It's a nice place. I enjoyed the weekend, but it was fairly quiet. And then, of course, my first really busy Comic-Con was after 31 had come out, after season 5 had come out. And that was, I think, in New Jersey at Chiller, one of the horror cons in Jersey. And that was a real blast. And then since then, I've been to many, many of them. And I just love meeting all the different people, and I love learning about their lives as much as they love talking about mine. All over the world, I've met some incredible fans, and it's, in fact, I'm guilty of, as you can see even from this interview, of just talking too much. My line always gets really long, not because there's a lot of people, but because I spend so much damn time just telling stories and chatting away. I think that's the Welsh in me. I love telling stories. So I'll be chatting, and I could see people going, "Come on, hurry up!" But then when they get to the front of the line, they like to have a chat.
They like that, man. They like that because they see this very humane part of you, and they see the true side, and you're taking time to chat with them. That's a lovely thing. I hope that never goes away.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it will with you. I think you're just that person.
No, I can't help it. I love to hear my own voice, so I'll just go on and on and on. I love chatting to people, and it's a lot of fun. And like I said, I love hearing their stories as well. I've met, some people and heard all kinds of amazing life stories of the different people that I've met, the fans that I've met all over the place. So it's a real treat. I love going on them, and I try to get to them whenever I can, and I'm always disappointed when I have to cancel, but it's always for, work reasons or something comes up. But luckily, knock on wood, hasn't had to happen too often. But, so I hate letting fans down, but all of us occasionally are forced to have to reschedule our appearances at times.
Well, it happens. It happens. That's why they put that little saying, based on the artist's availability. Things happen. Your movies are what moves the fans, and seeing them as well as amazing. But, it happens. They understand. So fans out there, if he's missed something, it's okay because he's trying to create more cool things for you guys. Give the guy a break. Boom, boom.
Usually, people are always very understanding.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've noticed it. We have our little eyes everywhere in the Comic-Con universe, and we see you have some beloved fans. The fans that you do have love you. They're diehard for what you do, and they love your art form and things like that. Now, another thing. I think the fans want to know this, and this is something huge. I don't know if you've been asked before. You've filmed all over the world. You've been in all sorts of these different horror movies and things like that. Have you ever experienced anything paranormal or a horror situation in these movies or while filming these movies?
No, that's a good question, but nor do I want to. I have not I've not been in a hotel. Oh, well, we were in, I filmed a movie last March, called The Virtuoso. It was an amazing cast with the director I've worked with before. In Pennsylvania, we filmed this. And the hotel was supposedly haunted. In fact, they say that it was the hotel that they got the idea for The Shining from. But so I'm not sure if that's really true. I have to say, on one of the floors where supposedly something happened, somebody was murdered or something bad happened, it did feel a bit creepy. Definitely. I went up to that floor near that room, and I would say I felt something uncomfortable. I definitely stayed off that floor afterwards. That's about the closest I could think of.
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe it was there, maybe not, but it is what it is. Or maybe they got scared of you. They're like, uh-oh, that's Richard Brake. We better not mess with him. They see your movies. Well, you know what, Richard? You are amazing. I have to ask you, if fans want to reach out, how do they reach out to you?
You always can send me messages. People direct message me. I try and answer them at times. Like I said, sometimes if I don't answer, it's not because I don't want to. It's just literally I just don't want to lose my girlfriend. But I do. Often people will send me messages, and even if it's just to say they enjoyed something, and I try and say thank you if I can. But if I don't, forgive me. It's not because I don't want to. That's probably the best way. Send me a direct message on Instagram, because I will go through them. I do usually do a scan when I get a moment and try and read the messages. And it's nice to hear from people that they've enjoyed the work, or that they're looking forward to seeing me near the convention, or whatever it is that they say. A lot of people send me pictures they draw, which I love to see, and of course tattoos. And the tattoos usually get reposted. People have quite a lot of Doomhead tattoos, and I've even seen a foxy or two pop up recently. So,
wow, look at that.
Repost those. There you go.
Forever. You are on them forever and ever and ever and ever, which is in a way really amazing, but in a way you're like, wow, I'm on someone's body across the sea.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. Love it.
Well, that's cool. Did you ever think that? You probably never, ever in your life thought that one day someone would tattoo your face on their body.
I did not, no. It was definitely a surprise the first time I saw it, but it was very cool.
Wow. Well, you know what, Richard? It's been lovely, and I know you got a lot of projects coming out this year. Is there anything you want to share with the fans before we head out?
About projects, I would say keep an eye out. I mean, definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, go check out 3 from Hell. It's now available on everything. So definitely check that one out. Most people that love that film, love Rob, have seen it. But if you're not, if you're a fan of horror, or a fan of, not even just horror, but just decent filmmaking, it's definitely worth checking out. And also, I always put a little shout out for that movie I mentioned earlier called Perfect Skin. And it was a very small little indie shot in Britain, and it is available on streaming, and you can rent it, or you can get a copy on Amazon or whatever. But it's it doesn't have any big names. It's got myself and wonderful Polish actress Natalia, whose last name I'll try. I'm not going to have a go at pronouncing, but she's really amazing in it. So because it doesn't have big names, it doesn't have a big budget for marketing. It kind of goes under the radar, and it's great that on shows like this I can put a little shout out for that. So if you like my work, and if you just like good genre films, definitely check out Perfect Skin. And then, of course, like I said, there's Rhythm Section coming out, and Brave New World, and Tremors 7 will be out next year. And that was a lot of fun to shoot. And I think that's going to be a fun movie for people who love those kind of films. So, yeah, I got loads and loads. I forget half the things I do. Sometimes I go, oh, shit, I'm in that. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah, keep an eye out. But definitely those ones I just mentioned. To try and rent them, download them, do everything but steal them.
Do everything but steal them. Well, that's a great way to put that. Ladies and gems, if you want to reach Mr. Richard Brake, go to his Instagram. That's Rich Brake, RichBrake. If you want to check out his movies, there's a ton of them. I can't list them all. Just search, and if you don't know, get to know. And check out his movies. Check out everything that he does. He has some amazing projects coming up, like he mentioned. You know what, Richard? Thank you so much for chatting with us all across the pond. I know you're calling from England, far out there. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for answering what people want to know. Thank you for being part of Comic-Con Radio. We really appreciate it. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Brake, are you ready to sign out?
I am. Thank you very much.
Okie dokie. Well, with that said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy for another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio with my guest, Richard Brake. We're signing out, and now, as we sign out, we have to throw a billion kisses to the universe. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, mwah! A billion kisses. Wow, look at that. Dang. Ladies and gems, keep those and use them while you're watching his movies. And with that said, ladies and gems, peace.
Peace.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing out from another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Tune in for your daily shows of Comic-Con Radio. Go to comiccon-radio.com. Reach us on social media, Instagram at Comic-Con Radio. Comic-Con Radio, taking the world one listener at a time.
I'm not crazy, I'm in control. 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 I'm not